Hey folks, it's Nate. Thanks for joining me at the art table today. I wanted to talk a little bit about a concept that's been coming up a lot, but which a lot of people I listen to haven't really discussed in exactly these terms. That concept is leverage. There are a lot of people discussing how we get good stories out of our corporate storytellers. And that's very difficult because a corporation is big and it is quite insulated from feedback. Now, good corporations go out and they try and find it, but arguably a lot of the corporations that are currently running our entertainment are not very good. They're not going out, they're not trying to get that feedback. They really don't seem to care too much about any feedback other than what you spend your dollars on. And a lot of people are saying, well, your dollars then are what give you your leverage. Yes, that is true. However, it is not just your dollars that give you leverage, it is how you position them. The famous quote from Archimedes about levers is that given a place to stand and a lever, Archimedes could move the entire world. The important thing is that he would require a place to stand. He would have to get extremely far away from the world and admittedly have a quite durable lever in order to move the world using nothing else. This analogy holds very true in the idea of trying to convince Hollywood or mainstream publishing or comics publishing, pick a genre, pick a industry, to pay attention to what we want from our stories. If we are extremely close to these industries, if we are really, really snuggled up against them, and all we do is follow everything they do, we are not nearly far enough removed from them in order to move them with our lever. Yes, the money we spend is certainly important, but if we slavishly follow every little thing they do, we are also empowering them to define our entire life. We do not have the distance to effectively use the lever to change the conversation. And a lot of people just want to talk constantly about the state of these industries and be laser focused on them and comment on everything good or bad. Now, I'm not saying abandon those industries entirely. You do, after all, have to interact with them to some extent in order to have a real impact. I mean, maybe that's not entirely true. You can look at Comicsgate and see that whatever that word means, it has had a huge impact on the industry almost entirely by walking away from them and ignoring them. However, comics was a fragile industry to begin with. It had a very small publishing base. It was not very popular. And in that case, it was not so massive that leverage was necessary to have an impact on it. I think mainstream entertainment, though, is that massive. It is so big that simply walking away from it is not going to cause it to collapse, at least not in time for it to respond to any of our actual desires. And I think we do get a better outcome of shaping the collapse into a rebirth than we do just letting the whole thing collapse and then picking through the ruins to rebuild what we actually want. The question is, how do you decide where you are going to stand in order to work your lever and get the outcome you want? A lot of people seem to think that chasing the algorithm right now is the big way to do that. Talk about whatever the big release is. Say whether you like it or whether you think it's bad. I disagree with this approach. If we do that, we are still allowing a major media company, Google, who runs YouTube, and frankly, most of the search and discovery algorithms out there, whether through direct engineering of that algorithm or through their influence of their algorithms, they are still defining the conversation. That means we are still allowing the mainstream media to define what we are talking about, what we are thinking about, and the stories we are consuming. So what is the answer? Where do we put leverage? How do we decide the media we want to engage with? I don't think there's a universal answer. There are a lot of different people who want a lot of different things out of stories, and that is in and of itself a difficulty of a consumer movement. Again, Comicsgate and the inability to really define what that is a clear proof of that. However, I am talking about this because I do have a solution to propose. not one that is going to create great unified action. Again, I don't think that's entirely necessary if we remove ourselves far enough that our leverage will be effective. Rather, this will allow the industry to react as industries react best, trying to juggle the desires of many different consumers and build a synthesis out of them. What I am proposing is that you support media that promotes moral messages that you resonate with. Are you a person who likes to see heroism played out? Then support stories that actually play out that heroism. Talk about stories that celebrate the classic hero, or maybe the heroic team, or whatever other incarnation of the hero you think is really good. Do you think the moral good we need right now is solid, intact families? Find media that is all about families functioning well and helping each other grow as people. Then support that media. Make your moral principles the clear leverage that you exercise through how you spend your dollars. Don't chase franchises. Don't chase the algorithm. Chase the heart and soul of the story, and then the franchises you love will be forced to look at those moral cores, those emotional cores, those thematic cores that you really want to see, and tell stories like that to you. Because that is essentially what a franchise does. It is a sense of aesthetics, it is a set of characters, or a world like Dungeons and Dragons or Star Trek that then you tell a story in. So look at the heart and the soul of the stories you want and support the stories that have that, regardless of whether they are your franchise or not. Stop chasing the algorithm. If the algorithm is all about a story from a franchise you love, but that does not have the heart and the soul of the story that you want, give it a pass. Do not consume content like that, and don't produce content about it. Save your leverage. Remove yourself from the industry far enough that when you do interact with it, they will feel that impact. That is how we are going to shape the storytelling industry going forward. Anyway, that's all I've got for you today. Hopefully you enjoyed that. Let me know what you think is the core of good stories that are worth supporting with your leverage in the comments below. There's a like button and a subscribe button down there you can use as you see fit, and I will talk to you later.